The great crayfish season is here, and while the government is allowing small-scale farmers to net up to 700 tons this year, there's a catch. That quota may drop to 400 tons in the next 2 years. The Masifundise Development Trust says it understands the need for quotas to be reduced as the crayfish population is under threat, but fishers need to feed their families too. Masifundise's Naseegh Jaffer joins us now to discuss this. Thank you so much for your time, Naseegh. So the reduction in those quotas is essential for sustainability of crayfish, but it will leave the small-scale fishers high and dry. How do you strike a balance?
Well, it's easy, really. There are many options that the government has. I mean, the first one is to reformulate the way the allocations are made to the different subsectors. You get commercial, you get communities, you get recreational. So reformulate that to take priorities into account, and that, by taking that into account and doing that, you would also allow the stock to replenish and to grow again.
You spoke about government compensation for the quota reduction. What would that compensation look like for you?
Well, firstly, obviously, it could be monetary compensation. Government has done so in the agricultural sector before, particularly during COVID. But it could also be free services or access to free services for fishing communities, particularly rural fishing communities. And these are social service, education, water, electricity, even education, so there are many concessions that government can give. But obviously monetary component would be an important ingredient in that, in compensation as well.
Naseegh, obviously poaching plays a part in how much the small-scale fishers then get to take home. There seems to be disagreement about whether poaching has increased or decreased over the last decade. What's your take, and what can be done to make the anti-poaching measures better?
Well, firstly, it is incorrect to make a connection between small-scale fishing and poaching or illegal fishing. Because small-scale fishing just doesn't have the capacity to overfish to the degree that government says overfishing is happening. But what would help is for government to have better and more accurate statistics and numbers to calculate how much is in fact being overfished or illegally harvested. Because the numbers are pure speculation at the moment. It is not accurate. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is to root out corruption, to root out advantages that government officials have over the monitoring of the resource, the landing of the resource, and the marketing of the resource. So those are important factors to eliminate or to correct the poaching numbers. But the important thing is that poaching is but one issue to bear in mind. The more important issue is for government to know precisely where the need lies, where the dependency on the resource is, and for those sectors to be prioritized over and above those who are there for pure commercial or for ulterior motives like illegal fishing or illegal exporting. So the primary need the primary need for allocation has to lie with people for whom food and hunger alleviation is important or critical. And another factor is the socioeconomics that government has to take into account. By their own admission, up until now, they have done not a single socioeconomic study to inform how the lobster fish is being allocated. It's purely just mathematical science, no socioeconomics. So these things has to change, and that's the most critical part. And if you do that, then community involvement, co-management, and participatory mechanisms would help in alleviating illegal fishing, alleviating poaching, but also it will support provision of food and alleviation of poverty.